Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Photographer's Favorites, the show where I pick 5 of my favorite photos from another photographer, and my guest picks 5 of their favorite photos from other photographers, and we talk about everything we love about them. Today, I'm really excited to have Deirdre Denali with me. How's it going, Deirdre?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for setting aside the time to join me and picking some amazing photos. I can't wait to get into them.
Absolutely. I can't wait either.
Yeah, definitely. How's photography been lately? You been up to anything really fun recently, or what's going on
Boy,
in your area? Where is your area?
my area is the southern San Juans of Colorado,
All right.
down in the deep southwest. And this has been such a busy summer. I have been tracking mountain goats in the wilderness
Oh,
and hanging out with pika and foxes and all kind of alpine and subalpine critters. So it's been fabulous.
such amazing habitat, isn't it?
Oh, it's the best.
I've
It's the
only gotten
best.
to experience it a couple of times on my last 2 visits to Alaska into some alpine habitat. And so it was my first experience with it. And it's just mind blowing. I mean, such a unique and beautiful, like really fun and beautiful to photograph habitat too, is what I found.
Yep, and it's always changing, and seasonally it changes so quickly. And
Does
so
it?
getting in there is magnificent.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Some great stuff here. I love
Thank
your
you.
mix. I love your mix of, like incredible, cool, wide scenic, and then just in your face portraits, like just having all of that is great. It's not like, kind of stuck down to one way. So awesome stuff.
You try to change it up to kind of represent not only the critters, but that fabulous landscape.
Totally. Yeah. Totally makes sense. Definitely. Excellent. All right. You ready to get into the show?
I am ready.
All right. Let's do it. Here we go. We'll start with the first one you chose. Speaking of mountain goats, right? We'll stick with that. Oh, and interesting. And Alaska. How cool. All right.
Yep.
So right off the bat, ridiculously adorable. I mean, that little lamb is like the tiniest thing. It looks like it can barely walk, which like the story that it tells, right, is just amazing. Like that they're born in that kind of habitat and then just all of a sudden they have to do it, right? It's a thing that like I know from the limited experience I've been in, right? It's
Mhm.
hard for adult humans to wander around in this habitat. And meanwhile, this thing is born right into that. So that alone is kind of crazy. Um,
It's so
but
incredible.
it is, it really
Yeah.
is. Yeah. But I absolutely love like the soft subdued light there. And the vertical composition is real interesting to me on this one because it feels like, it's kind of interesting in that I don't know that I would have gone with a vertical composition myself, but it feels so right on this one. And I kind of like the more I think about it, the
Mhm.
more it exaggerates like height in it, and it kind of makes everything feel a little bit taller, which I think works. And then it shows
Yes,
off
absolutely.
all this incredible color down there, like just the textures and everything, which is amazing. So absolutely love it.
Yep. And I'm like very drawn to the colors in this. All the hues of the lichen just blow my mind. And
Yeah.
then kind of just the way that the adults are looking at the baby, they look so proud and excited. And this is one of my favorite wildlife photographers. I think his work is just great. And so when he posted this, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't get over how beautiful this is.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Always unique compositions from him.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great point. The colors of the lichens are so nice, and everything in that habitat, other than the mountain goats, is pretty dark, which is incredible. Like perfect to make them stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yep, it's a beautiful contrast. And just the way that the light is, like you said, the very soft lighting, it really just makes it such a gentle moment in such a harsh environment.
great point. Yeah, totally, totally. Right, you can see just that the raw texture and almost harshness of that, like you said. And the other thing too, you're shooting wider like that. He's not right on top of them. I mean, I'm sure he's pretty close based on like it looks like a little bit of a wider focal length.
Mhm.
But so there's like no depth of field like separation there, right? The background is right there. We're seeing all that texture. So if it was
Yep,
brighter in any way, I feel like it would just like they would blend right in. But it's incredible that they
absolutely.
stand out so perfectly.
Yep. Yep. I
Yeah,
totally agree with that.
yeah, that's awesome. I'll definitely have to continue seeking out more of this photographer's work because that's some really nice stuff.
It's so cool.
Yeah. All right, here we go. On to the next one. Something completely different.
Totally different. This is stunning. The
Yeah.
contrast in it with the black is absolutely amazing. And just the clarity of the scorpion is just incredible. And I'm seeing it's just the molt of a scorpion, which
Yes.
I don't really know very much about those critters.
Same
And
here.
so this is just, it's stunning. It's so hard to believe that that can be like really how it is, you know? It's amazing.
Yeah, I love the whole description that the photographer talked about with the ultraviolet light and shining a black light on it, and then the colors that are shown, and like it's
It's
just
incredible.
a whole unseen world to us.
Hmm. It's amazing. I always say and talk about how magical this planet is, but sometimes it takes something like this to really drill home just how fascinating everything is. And there's like layers in this world, and stuff like this really illuminates that.
Very, very, very much agree. And absolutely love how that's something that we can find on Instagram, right? Like we can connect with
Yeah.
these other photographers that, like I'll fully admit, right? I don't have a huge fascination in these type of critters. But when you see something
Hmm.
like this, you're like, how can you not stop and appreciate the gorgeous nature of this? And then also,
Absolutely.
and then read the caption and learn something from it,
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah,
absolutely
that's
love that
just
aspect to it.
amazing.
Yeah.
There's something so striking about it too. We're kind of, as you're scrolling along Instagram, kind of seeing bear, 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 all these different things, like this just jumps
Right.
out at you. It's magnificent.
Yeah. I love the composition on it too, with the strong diagonal from the darker blue of whatever it is that it's hanging, like a branch or
Yeah,
something like that.
just
So it's
incredible.
yeah, it's just like this deep blue line cutting right through the black, and then obviously, that the scorpion shape is so recognizable. Like I think you could show anybody that's never seen any wildlife ever, and they'd still somehow know it's a scorpion. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. And there's something really artful about this shot that you don't always get in wildlife photography. And it's just very, very pleasing. It's really nice.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so cool how in photography, especially, I mean, every photography I think works this way, but especially wildlife photography, how there's the story side of it that can be captured, and then there's the artistic side. And now every once in a while they're
Yes.
merged together, and it's like mind blown, like that's the most difficult
Yes.
thing to do. But each one on its own can stand on its own and work really well for wildlife photography.
Yep. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Do you find yourself sort of working harder towards one or the other? Like, do you find yourself trying to be more of a storyteller with your wildlife photography, or more of like an artistic representation of it, or a nice mix of both? Like, do you skew
That's a
one way or
good
the other?
question. I think I with my wildlife, I tend to stick more to the behavioral side,
Yeah,
the subject of it all. But when I'm going wider or doing landscape, I try to focus on the art of it
gotcha.
and more of like an impressionist kind of styling.
No, that totally makes sense. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I can appreciate the struggle that is capturing behavior, because there's just, I mean, the biggest thing, right? It's just so much time in the field. Like
Oh yeah.
that's what you
Oh
need,
yeah.
right? You can't just. It's very rare that you just wander out and then boom, dumb luck, and you find you happen into like the most amazing behavior. And when it does
That
happen,
would
it's
be a
amazing.
dream.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. Like the two times that's ever happened, you're like, yes, But
I know you really feel like a professional in those moments. Like just my presence is doing this, definitely.
yeah, totally, totally. And then it's severely put back in check, where the next,
Yes.
every outing you have to struggle and work your butt off for it. So
Right. For the next year.
exactly, exactly. All right, on to
This
this
is
next one.
gorgeous.
This is
Oh
really
my
cool.
goodness.
Yeah,
Wow. I didn't even see that beautiful bird right away. That's stunning.
yeah,
This is just like a different take on mountain layers. Out where I live, it's always the horizontal mountain layers. And this
yep,
is the vertical, and it's absolutely stunning in black and white too. That's really pretty. I
yeah.
love the composition here.
It does have interesting layers, definitely. It's
Hmm.
it's almost a landscape shot with a bird in it versus a bird photo
Yeah,
of a landscape.
that's
But
just striking.
but somehow the bird still stands out quite nicely.
He does. And you know what I'm just noticing, and I'm probably getting so close to the camera,
Yeah.
but you can almost see a little drip falling off the
Yes.
beak of the bird.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Totally.
glorious. That
Yeah, I
is
don't know if it's
so cool.
I don't know if it's that or just the glow on the tip of the bill there. Either way, right?
Yeah, that's stunning.
Yeah,
And
either way.
just the eye that it takes to even look at that scene and pick that out,
Yeah.
that's very neat.
Yeah.
Super cool composition.
Yeah, another great example of an incredible use of vertical composition. The space is
Totally.
filled so nicely there.
Yep. And sometimes I feel in a composition when the foreground is so dark, it can be a little bit challenging to make the composition you're going for really pop. And they've
Yeah.
done an excellent job here of that. And
Yep.
it's just the gradient of the rock is so
Totally.
incredibly pretty.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
I love those layers, right? Because if this was a little bit closer, right, it'd be a lot darker. So then all of
Mm-hmm.
this would stand out less. And then if it was far enough away, you wouldn't really notice that much. So it's like the sweet spot of distance and like atmosphere that's fading it just right.
Absolutely. And I love it in black and white. I would love to know what the color looked like just to
Yeah.
know if that contrast would still be there or
Yep.
if the black and white really, really emphasizes that.
Totally. Yeah. Do you do a lot of black and white?
Stunning.
I don't. I
I
find myself
do.
almost never. Yeah.
I do probably about a third black and white. I don't
Nice.
always share those, but I have
Okay.
clients that love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think black and white is really interesting. It really makes you stay kind of true to the situation and what's going on.
Mm,
Your eyes are drawn to it in such a different way. And
sure.
when it's done well, it's gorgeous.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely agree. And I think I'm realizing now that I probably have some stuff out of order because I think I did too many of my photos in a row here. So
No
hopefully
worries.
we'll get back to some more of the ones that you chose.
Wow, this is striking. I will say I don't know very much about bird photography. It's not really something that I do too often.
Okay.
But anytime that I see photos where the bird is so close to water or to the ground, I'm so impressed by just the reaction speed of the photographer to hit that right. Because I imagine that only lasts for like a few seconds at the very most. And when it's on water, that's just breathtaking. That's so pretty.
Definitely. Yeah.
The simplicity of this shot is just like fantastic.
Agreed, right? It's kind of the same as the scorpion thing, right? You just go with that black background. It's like, what else can you look at, right? Just you cannot do anything but stare at that subject because that's the only thing that we can see there,
Yep. And the shape that this is a swan, I assume,
Yes. Yeah,
a mute swan.
Yep.
This is it's just incredible. Oh, and I'm just seeing this is also one of my favorite photographers.
Nice.
Yeah, and his stuff, he does like a lot of low light and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's really striking. And I think just like the position of the swan in this shot in particular, there's something very, very beautiful about it and graceful about it. And it's very pleasing to the eye. It's just lovely.
Totally. Yeah. Those wingtips, whenever they like the feathers, when they curl up like that in flight, it's just such an elegant touch to a bird photo.
Yes.
I find,
Yes.
Yeah.
And that little tiny pop of orange.
Right.
That's just like beautiful.
Yeah. It is nice.
A little bit of magic.
And it shows in the reflection as well, And then that massive splash from this huge bird. Like if you've ever seen one of these things take off, like the run up on these guys, it just takes forever to lift that huge body in the air. So
that's incredible.
They're just cruising along the surface for a while. And just the sound of it, like the foot slapping that you can hear from it. It's so loud. So it really transports me to just that whole thing. Cause I've seen that kind of take off from swans a lot of times. So it's really fun that it kind of connects that way as well.
It's really stunning. I am transfixed by the contrast of the white on the black. It's just, there's something so delicate and just perfect about it that you have to appreciate it. So we have trumpeter swans here and I can't, are mute swans much bigger?
A little bit, but not much. I think overall physical size, not much, but they're just like a beefier bird, like I think the trumpeters, like all the other swans tend to have a little bit more of a thinner neck, a little bit smaller head.
Sure.
These guys are just like tanks in the water.
It's kind of amazing, because they are such big birds. Just that grace that can be seen in them is
right.
It's incredible.
Yeah. I very much agree. The long neck certainly helps, doesn't it?
Yes. And the color. There's something about the
Yep.
color that's just
All
like
white.
so incredibly pretty.
Yep. Yeah, all white. And so, what you said you had trumpeters?
Yep.
So do they have the yellow or pink slash like on the bill? I think there's like a little color that shows on the black bill.
Yes, I think that it's yellow.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I have some pictures in my archives
Gotcha.
somewhere.
Yeah.
But usually the swans hang out when I'm hanging out with foxes. And so I'll just be like out of the corner of my eye watching those beautiful swans.
Just noticing them. Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
That's great. All right, let's get on to one that you chose here. Look at that. The first thing that strikes me, well, two things, right? Number one, the eye contact is great. Like getting eye contact from a mammal like that, such a great connecting thing as a photographer. But then secondarily is the way the fur is just like shooting out in every direction. Like it looks like the thing just got blow dried, you know. It's such a great look on the fur. Love the sense of motion from the paw being up like that coming across. So I can almost feel like, you know, you can feel the little guy kind of not crawling, but walking across the frame.
Yes.
A great use of foreground. Like I don't know, this little bit of out of focus foreground, it just places me in the scene so much more. It's something I've talked about countless times on the show whenever foreground is introduced. But, you know, if the photographer stood up and had started the image just with all of the somewhat more in focus vegetation, I feel like that makes it feel more like a snapshot of, I'm looking at a photo. And then all of a sudden when that out of focus foreground is introduced, I don't know what it does to me. And I still don't really know the psychology behind it, but it just really makes me feel like I'm in that scene so much more as a viewer, you know?
I totally agree. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how it breaks it up. It gives you the feeling that you are kind of there, you know, like you could be hiding in those lower willows or bushes.
Yeah, totally.
And it's just kind of amazing. I really love this photo because of how happy the bear looks. I think with its little paw in the air, it just like looks like it's having a day and it's just loving it.
Carefree,
just
right?
Exactly. And it's the colors in this photo aren't so saturated that it becomes the focus point of the photo, but they're just saturated enough where you get such a sense of how colorful that landscape surely is.
Totally.
I just love it. I can't get enough of this precious bear. And it must have just rained because you kind of see some moisture on the plants around him. And I think that's like my favorite time to shoot is when things are a little bit wet.
Isn't it great? It just changes everything.
Everything.
The absolute best. Yeah. But then I'll find myself being out there. I'm like, just anything, find something. I need to find, it looks so beautiful. Give me a subject, right?
Isn't that the most like dramatic feeling where the landscape is perfect, but there's not any animal in it? What do you do?
I know. Yeah. I mean, and it's such the wildlife photographer in us, you know, because like most other people be like, well, appreciate this landscape and photograph that, you know? And it's like, yeah, sure, I do, but give me wildlife.
Just not enough. Not quite enough.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I'll bet you all that, like it probably, like you said, it either did just rain or, you know, the cub was walking through, you know, all the wet vegetation, which probably is what contributes to the fur looking that way. You know, it's got that wet look to it. And such a fun one. And, you know, interesting, I guess, I don't know if it's just like a real soft, like kind of rim light there that I'm noticing. Like there's a little bit of sun kind of just kicking in from behind there. That's just giving like a beautiful little soft glow on the top. But, you know, kind of like you mentioned with the color, right? Not overpowering at all.
Yep. Kind of just gives it a sense of place. You can tell that it's somewhere really hilly and the light is probably coming up over something and just shining the littlest bit there. It's so pretty.
Clearing out after a rainstorm or something like that.
Yes.
You can almost imagine, like you start to kind of connect with like the smell of outdoors when it's like
totally
time, you know.
Totally.
Yeah. So much fun. Awesome.
Oh, that's so pretty. It's so pretty. I've been so many times to mountain lakes that look like this for like 2 minutes at a time, and then it suddenly is no color. And we actually had a sunrise like this morning, and it can't be beat. It's so incredibly pretty. And kind of a fun story.
Yeah.
is I've taken like, I tried getting into bird photography because our lakes are so pretty with the mountains. And I was taking these magnificent photos of these geese. And it was
Yeah.
kind of a scene like this. And I found out after the fact, after being like, these are really patient geese, they were all like hunting dummies.
Oh,
And they
decoys.
were just, yeah, like tethered to the bottom of the lake by rocks. And I had been like so excited and just
Oh
enthralled.
no.
And then when I went to go edit the photos, was like, oh, these are not real. This
Yeah,
is like
that's
not a
the best.
thing.
That's the
Oh
best,
my
Deirdre.
God.
That's the best. I love it. No, and
So I can
especially if it's like,
appreciate this.
if it's that kind of lighting with the silhouette, I could see how it could
Uh-huh.
be hard to tell. Totally. Yeah.
Yes. So when it's real and this is actually happening,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
so much appreciation for it because it's so, so otherworldly
Isn't it?
and just, it's gorgeous. And it's amazing how, I assume this is not like a real long exposure. And so it's
No,
just
no.
amazing how still that water is,
Yeah.
even though they're swimming through it.
Yeah.
So that it's stunning. And just also, I will say, how small the focus is on the birds. It really adds a lot because sometimes there's too much water in focus and it'll make it where you're a little distracted by that. And the composition in this is just beautiful. Really like that. Really like the colors in that. Pinks are kind of my thing, and
Okay.
that's gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, how can you go wrong with colors like that, right? It's just, yeah,
It's a dream.
yeah, it really is. And what's funny is, I've seen, I work with Marianne quite a bit, and I've seen some other photos from her. And so one of the challenging things that I know she struggles with, well, maybe I shouldn't even say struggles with, but one of the challenging things with photos like this is a lot of times there's a lot of ducks out there and they're all over the place and they're scattered. So there'd be like black dots all over the place in the background, which can be kind of distracting. So to find a scene where there's just these and then nice clean background, and like you said, the calmness and stillness in the water isn't disturbed, right? So all these things have to come together to make a shot like this. And then just the mountain range in the background, just kind of,
it's so pretty,
looming back there, but not, again, just like the that vertical black and white we were looking at, right? It's got the right distance. So the darkest thing are these ducks up front, and then it all really comes together. Even the swirling, the kind of cloud pattern back there. Different colors.
Oh, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And this kind of shot, for how simple of a shot this is a really hard kind of shot to actually get and get done really well.
You're right.
And this one is done really well. It's really pretty. And just even the positioning of the birds, where it's 2, 1, 2, that's like
great.
So pretty.
Yeah. Those are the details I love when you spend time with a photo, I think I say it every episode. I love doing this kind of thing because, and I get to hear other perspectives from other photographers like yourself, and like the thing that you just pointed out there, that spacing of the 2, 1, 2. And I think it's something that it's one of those things that as soon as you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, of course. I love that. It's obvious, but it wasn't like in the forefront of my mind until somebody else points it out. And
it's beautiful. And also
details.
How, I like how the sets of 2 on the sides, also when you go straight up, are like perfectly in line with the 2 mountains, and the one in the middle has no mountain. But they're all kind of slightly off center. It's really nice.
It is. Yeah.
It would have been so easy to just put them in the center and snap the shot and still have a pretty decent shot.
Oh yeah.
So it's very thoughtful.
Yeah, indeed. And then I'm looking even more, like it looks like the one in the middle has the bill open, so it's probably the one making the racket. Because it's by itself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I love this shot.
Isn't it great?
I love it. Oh, and it's the same photographer as earlier. Awesome.
So
he made
and
double
working
appearance.
and working in the blacks in the dark.
Yes. Yeah,
He's
totally.
so good at it. He's so good at it.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously like a nocturnal thing. Yeah, so flashes, camera trap kind of thing. What an amazing moment. I mean, like a full-on aerial leap of this mouse, lit so well. Again, just like you mentioned earlier, right? The black background, there's nothing else to look at. I love the texture here. Compositionally, it feels just right. There's like a nice amount of space around it. But I mean, that moment that's captured right there is just incredible. I love that the feet are still touching the perch it's leaving. You know, like it'd
It's
be
such a
cool.
cool shot.
It would be cool if it was fully in the air. That would still be neat. But the fact that like there's just such a sense of anticipation of that full on leap with the back paws still touching like that. And it's fun. It looks like such a big leap in this photo because it's so close, but it's probably like a space like this. That the thing
Oh,
is
totally.
you know what I mean?
It's so cute. It's
Yeah.
so cute.
Like when
This
you get
photo,
this
I
close, the
just,
sense of scale kind of gets
it's
thrown
so
off a little bit.
off.
Yeah.
It's the mouse's world.
It
It
totally.
just,
Yep.
it's so fantastic. And I've seen stories of him setting up shots like this.
Okay.
And it's just the thought process that has to go into capturing something so tiny.
Yeah.
I work with little pikas, and
Yep.
I mean, they're so hard to get just regular shots of that I have such an appreciation for this.
Yeah.
When it's like the dark and something probably like that big, it's incredible. I love the sense of motion. I love the sense of scale, and just the detail being pulled in a night shot like this is incredible.
Yep.
I certainly could not do a photo like this. This is just,
I've never tried any of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
No, this is so next level. This is like,
yeah,
I'm definitely like fangirling a little bit over this, because I mean, just the amount of skill it takes is incredible.
And patience, I'm sure. You know, like how many attempts, how many nights this kind of setup has to be left out in order to get, you know, that moment, get the focal plane. Like it's jumping in the right focal plane there. It's not coming forward or out or anything like that, you know? Yeah, there's just, there's so many things. And another thing you pointed out that I want to kind of touch back on too is I love a photo that can give a sense of motion, because it's still it's a frozen moment in time, right? But there's still such a sense of motion from that, even though it's not a video. We're not getting to see what's happening, but we know exactly what's happening. We know what the next frame is going to look like, you know? And speaking of which, he actually included, which is also an amazingly funny part, is that, you know?
Isn't that amazing? Like, and it's hard, because when I was going through them, it was like, oh man, like these are actually all just spectacular. They all tell a little different story. And they're all just like as cute as can be also.
Totally.
And they're just amazing. What a cool sequence of shots.
It really, really is. Yeah, it's incredible stuff. So nice choice on that one, definitely.
This is just beautiful. Another black and white.
It is. Yeah.
I love the little outline on the bird. That's just stunning. And I see it's a sparrow. I love the textures in this shot. Yeah. That's like kind of the first thing I'm drawn to is the like subtle texture changes on likely the same material. I always feel like the way that light bounces off of that kind of thing, just it makes such a dramatic kind of shot. And you would never guess, well, I would never guess that this is a rooftop. This is not something, this is something that could be a million different things, but I don't think a rooftop would ever be the thing that I think of.
Oh, not at all. And I would have gone with like a bench or like a fence line or something. Yeah.
I love the simplicity of it. I think that's like the main thing in this photo is just a very quiet, peaceful moment. And the tones of the black and white are also really pleasing to the eye. They're not so contrasty and dramatic.
Yeah.
They're more soft and kind of just a beautiful, peaceful vibe. I think like an early morning vibe that us wildlife photographers know well.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Just stunning.
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me like this one was just the lines, right? There's just so many great lines, and so many of them like really leading in, like even the curves here pointing into the head, all of these lines coming in, these subtle black like shadow lines kind of pointing down in. Everything's just pulling us in towards where this bird is positioned there. So compositionally, very well done. And yeah, I'm a sucker for like, some strong dramatic back rim light kind of thing. So gets me every time.
That's just stunning. I love the vibe. I feel this is the first one out of all the beautiful shots we've looked at. This is the first one where I'm like, oh yeah, like I know that feeling. Like I definitely, that's like a getting up to work in the morning kind of vibe. And it's really, really nice.
And a nice connection of birds and urban, like a cool connection to make there. I've often thought I want to really work on a project like that and really kind of concentrate on just that urban connection with a lot of birds that kind of live near cities and in and around
Yeah,
cities. Because I think there's so really cool graphical things that can be done like this. This is a great example of it. But
absolutely.
it's hard to, when you have some free time, to go into a city for wildlife photography instead of getting out of it, you know? Like,
Yes,
it's not the first
definitely.
choice of places I want to go. Let me go where all the people are, you know?
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Usually the other way around. I mean, come on. Just
Right,
ridiculous. Just like
right.
straight up house cat pose, you know? It's
Yes.
like straight up
Yes.
just posing for the camera. Gorgeous, gorgeous portrait light. Dawn or dusk, one or the other. It looks like just before or
Mm-hmm.
just after sunset or sunrise. And so not direct light, but total direction to the light. You can see the right side is brighter. I can see it in the catch lights as well. And I like that there's no direct light there. It softens
Yeah,
the
isn't
mood of the
that pretty?
portrait. It is, and it does something to the eyes as well. Those huge catch lights in the eyes from just the bright sky up top, instead of like a direct sun, like kind of pinpoint catch light, that just really brings
Yep.
some extra life to those eyes. And because we have, I mean, you can't get any more head-on eye contact than that. Like, it's all about
Yes.
those eyes right there. Um, and the pose is just, I mean, sitting so perfectly. It's just over the top.
Yep. Yep.
Absolutely
And
over the
Joey
top.
has worked so hard with bobcats to get
Yeah.
these amazing photos. And I something that I'm really drawn to in this one is the ground kind of cutting the scene to break up the background a little bit.
Yep.
Where you can see that the bobcat has kind of come up and is being
Yes.
very curious.
Yeah.
I really like that. And I am kind of amazed by this shot just because you can tell that it's in lower light, like you were saying.
Yep.
So the pupils are so big, and it does, there's something that feels just like so at ease about this photo. It's so hard to get that out of wild cats.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely stunning to me. And this is I believe it's a juvenile that he's been tracking, and
Okay.
just incredible. I think that this is one of the cutest portraits I've ever seen of a bobcat because of that inquisitiveness that it clearly has.
Totally a sense of trust between that subject and the photographer, like you said, right?
Yep.
There's no fear, there's no tension in the pose, right? It's just the most casual, calm pose. It obviously is fully accepting. It's very aware of the photographer, right? It's not like the
Yep.
photographer's in a hide and the thing has no clue it's there, right? It's not that feeling, but it's a full-on acceptance by the subject, which
Totally.
as I'm sure you know, especially with the amount of mammals you work with, right? That's a special moment when that happens.
Oh, it is. And like on that note, just technically it's a really good shot, which when you're in an exciting moment like that, that can be really hard.
Right.
It can be really hard to kind of just keep everything nice and tight and not moving. And he did such a good job with it. I think because I don't work around bobcats a lot, I would have been freaking out and really having to try to maintain my composure and stay still. And it's just, the level of trust there is something that really makes this shot. And it really does look like a domestic cat because it just is so comfortable.
Yeah. Yep.
I like it. And you kind of get that domestic cat judgment a little bit there too.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. 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 It doesn't matter whether they're wild or domestic, right? It's a cat's a cat at some point.
Exactly. Exactly.
They definitely have that personality to them. The one last thing before we move on to the last shot I want to talk about is because of that low light situation too. As I was looking at the photo more, I really started to notice the cool tones in the darker areas and even in a little bit of the fur. And it really makes the warm tones of the fur kind of stand out. That I love that, always that cool, warm, two color palette in an image works so well together all the time. So
yes, it's really well done in this shot.
It definitely is.
Really pleasing.
Excellent.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. I absolutely love these birds. We get them on the San Juan River down here.
Oh, cool.
And they're just extraordinary to watch. And this is a fantastic composition with this bird. Oh my goodness. The tones and colors right off the bat, the hues of that golden light, truly incredible. And how you like the like glowing silhouette, that's just outstanding in this shot. It's so pretty. There's something like, I know I describe things as dreamy a lot, but to me that's like the highest praise, is to pull like a little dreaminess out of an atmosphere. And that's exactly what this photographer has done. And it's just delicious. It is magnificent.
Agree with
you can picture that.
Yeah.
You can totally picture being there, and just the sense of calm and the sense of quiet is really exceptional. And then it's just perfectly in focus, which is hard to do in that kind of situation. So that's exceptional.
Yeah, it certainly can be. And it's something that I think a photo like this, I agree with all the points you said. Love all those things about it. And talking a little bit more about the mood, to me, this is one of those photos that if you show a non-photographer, they can appreciate it for all those same reasons, right? But then if you show a wildlife photographer, they connect with it on that next level, because they can transport themselves to the experiences that they've had in those moments of that early morning, calm, peaceful, when the light just hits just right and things things are finally working out. All the hard work is paid off. And then, for example, like we're looking at here, right? The bird swims into just the sweet spot, and then you press that shutter button and you get it, and you're like, yes, so we can all relate on that whole other level. And that's what this photo makes me feel as well, is just that sense of being in those moments when the things all come together like that.
I imagine this being like one of the shots where like you actually do pause to check the back of your camera and like, okay, like this has turned out. I'm not crazy here. Right. I did it.
Yes.
This is one of those shots, because it's the lighting like that is fabulous, but it can be so tricky. And it's so well done. And just, again, the little offset from the center of the frame. It's so pretty. And the horizontal line of the movement in the water.
Yeah.
That's so pretty. It really brings the darkness. Yeah. Incredible.
That sense of mystery of what's it swimming into. Like, it's swimming into this dark void of space. There's almost a sense of like, where is this thing going kind of element to it. So
we've had a lot of really dark shots.
Yeah.
Lots of darkness.
That's my style. I love it. I love that moody.
I love it too.
Style. Yeah, it's just definitely something that always attracts me. It's so funny. I love that, Deirdre. I love that you mentioned that taking that moment to check and make sure that happens, because it reminded me of a story that happened recently. I had a client out. We were on the beach photographing black skimmers, and it was not quite this low light, but the sunset, it was getting into low light, and there was we could see the glow on these skimmer chicks, right? They were feeding or chicks on the beach, and the parents were coming in and feeding them. And these two came out and started running across the beach. In the backlight, you could see the glow. Me and my client were audibly going like, "Oh my God!" and we're shooting, And then as soon as it was done happening, like there's still stuff happening. He's like, "I have to check." I'm like, "Go ahead. I'll keep an eye out and let you know." He's like, "I know I should be shooting, but I have to check." He just had to know if he got it in that moment. And I was like, "I totally get it. Don't worry, I got your back. I'll keep an eye out and let you know if you're missing anything good. But go ahead, confirm that shot." So it's so funny that you brought that up, because it totally happens.
There are just some moments where it's like, I don't care if I miss a few more shots. Like, if this one worked, my day is made.
Yeah.
And right? I feel like that's just how that shot was, where it's just like perfect. It's hard to complain.
Yeah. One of the best things for me is you go out on an outing, and then if you can have the luck of getting one of those types of shots right in the beginning,
oh my gosh,
like lightens the load for the rest of it. And then you're like so much more carefree. And then I don't know if you notice this, but at least for me, right? As soon as my attitude changes that way and I put less pressure on myself, the rest of it keeps happening, right?
It's like, the best days.
Getting these more moments, and I think it's because you're maybe, at least for me, I'm a little bit more just open to possibility. I'm not putting so much pressure and stress on myself. I can just appreciate what's happening a little bit more, because I'm like, I already got the shot. This morning, everything can just happen. And it's those.
And then I feel like.
Go ahead.
I feel like your energy is like different. Right? And so wildlife also responds different, and they're a little more comfortable. Totally. I totally had a day like that in the field just a few days ago, where like right off the bat, you get what you went to get. and
Yeah.
you still have like 8 hours left. And so then that's when the magic happens.
It does. Yeah. Oh, they're the best days. Yeah.
Yes,
We always have to appreciate them. Definitely. Well,
absolutely.
Deirdre, thank you so absolutely very much for joining. This was a lot of fun. It really was great.
Thank you for having me. I love this.
Yes, you are very welcome. So what's coming? Anything coming up in the near future? Like what's this time of year bring for you? Are there any exciting things coming up this time of year, or is it just kind of a little bit more of the same?
So this time of year starts fall in the San Juans, which is like the most magnificent time here. And so I have 2 goat tracking expeditions coming up for fall color and goats.
Ooh.
And then it's also like peak Pika gathering time where they're just as busy as can be. And so I spend probably about 40 hours a week up on the tundra trying to see what I can see. And yeah, so it's just an adventure. We have now baby deer that are active on our property, and so it's hanging out with baby deer, and all of the male mule deer are about to come back.
Gotcha.
So it's a really
exciting.
This is my favorite time. Yep.
Yeah. Great action, great stuff, and colors, right?
Colors, absolutely. The best.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I cannot wait to see what you come up with. I'll certainly keep following and seeing what you're sharing in the near future.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Please do me a huge favor, share it with your friends and fellow photographers, and help us spread the word around on this show. Thanks again. I'll see you guys all next Saturday.